and then we've got a special guest that's going to come in and talk about the Belly Up Bowl. So if you stick with us for about 7 to 10 seconds, we'll be right back with you. Listen for the music. Good afternoon. Well, actually, not afternoon. It's 9 o'clock here on the East Coast. Derek, how are you tonight?
All right. Yeah, where you been? It's been a short day for you. You must have slept in today, huh?
No, I was, you know me, right at work. I was doing math all day, and it's I'm tired of math. So let's talk football.
All right. We got live football on TV. You got preseason games. The Lions and the Giants are on.
Are they still getting into fist fights throughout the practice? Well, it's a game now, or half a game.
Yeah,
so I don't know.
I
haven't even turned it on.
I watched it for the requisite 5 or 10 minutes for a first preseason game.
Yeah. All right. Well, as you know, and our listeners don't quite know yet, so we've got a gentleman coming on in a little bit. He's running a little bit behind schedule. Kids and soccer games. That's how life takes over. So we're going to pivot for a second. We're going to talk a little bit about Raz Bowl with Dave Cruz, who was on when we did our one and only Raz Bowl mock draft. And now we have actually, the three of us have all finished our Raz Bowl 6 drafts. They're all in the books. We were all in separate divisions as it's randomized. So, fellas, why don't we start with where you finished in Raz Bowl? Dave, you're going to have to tattle on yourself here with your 20th pick. But if nothing else, we'll have some fun with the fact that only one of us timed out and only one of us did it one time. And only one of us did it one time in the 20th round. Raise your hand if that was you.
That was me.
So when you timed out, you said you missed the email. No big deal, right? You still got your pick. Who was your 20th round pick, and how did that work out for you?
Well, my 8th pick in the 20th round was Kenny Gainwell. And he was one of only 2 guys I had left in my queue anyway. The other one was Juwan Jennings of the 49ers.
Yep. Well, interestingly enough, I had Gainwell in my queue with one other name. Well, I had 3 names. I had Gainwell, who went right before me in the 20th. I had Ricky Pearsall, and I had Juwan Jennings. So at least we're thinking along the same lines. With drafting Saquon in the league, I thought Kenny Gainwell was a great addition at the end, but he went right before me.
Did he get auto-picked?
No, he did not get auto-picked. Apparently the person was ready to go.
Okay.
Not
well,
napping at the wheel.
Then it wasn't me. So
yes.
Don't
Derek, do you remember who you took in the 20th round?
I do. I don't say I'm proud of it, but I'll take it. Jonathan Mingo was my final pick.
And explain to the listeners why you took Jonathan Mingo.
Because I needed a wide receiver. No, but you don't put a lot of emphasis on the news coming out of camp, especially this early. But there is some positive news coming out for him that he's showing positive signs this year. So last pick of the draft.
Yeah.
And I needed a wide receiver, so I wanted someone who had a decent shot at being on the field.
He's a starter on their early draft chart, so a depth chart, I should say. He's been getting some good reports in camp. I would have liked to have grabbed him, but he went in our draft in the 19th round.
Oh, look at Derek getting a value
right.
there.
I'll take that value.
Hey,
and did you happen to stack him with Bryce Young?
I
would have if I had the chance, but no, I did not.
No. That's a league-winning stack right there, Derek.
Yes, that could be the late season winning stack once Bryce Young becomes a better quarterback than he was in.
Yeah, Bryce Young actually in my draft went in the 14th round before Will Levis, before Deshaun Watson, before Derek Carr.
Somebody believes in Dave Canales.
It's Bobby. If Bobby was on, he would tell you that he's the believer, but I don't know. I did draft him in what league do I have him in? I actually have him as my 3rd quarterback in Raz Bowl, come to think of it. So I have the powerful Bryce Young, Deontay Johnson stack in my Raz Bowl.
Well, He's actually not a bad, stash, at that level of the draft, certainly in a best ball.
As a QB3, there's
Exactly.
definitely worse.
Exactly. QB3, no higher than that right now. But he could certainly play up to a QB2, and if you have some value and you need some quarterback in the playoff rounds, then there you go.
Yeah, well, I had to get a QB3 a little bit earlier than I would have liked because I YOLO'd Tua and Patrick Mahomes who both have week 6 buys. So,
Ooh.
Yeah, but I wanted to stack Tua with Tyreek just in case.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this: I've been hearing a lot of chatter on the airwaves, and then reading folks on X and other areas, Reddit for one. Best ball folks seem to think that they're smarter than everybody else by proclaiming that you need to stack, and stack is better in best ball. Do you have an opinion as to why people keep pushing stacks in best ball, or is it just a figment of having fun with an imaginary best ball draft?
It's not a bad strategy. It's certainly not a new strategy. We were stacking people back in the 90s when I was playing in TD only leagues. So it's not a bad strategy. I don't contort myself to do it often. Getting Tua as a QB2 in I think the 10th round of this draft was, it seemed like a pretty decent idea. I mean, you're talking about a good, accurate quarterback and one of the top players in the NFL.
Well, what quarterback led the NFL in yardage in 2023? Tua did.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, so he's clearly good enough to be a quarterback one, and you've already got a guy named Patty Mahomes. So I think that that makes sense, right? I think the key that you said, contort. If it works, it works. Like I'm looking at my Raspberry, I have Purdy and Ayuk and Pearsall. The Ayuk and Purdy stack was nice, but that may not last through the 4 preseason games, or is it 5? How many preseason games do we have now? 7, 8, 9? I don't know.
4. Three preseason games.
3 preseason plus that.
There's only one that matters.
Yes. And then I have the Bryce Young and Deontay Johnson stack. But from there, I didn't land on anything. My second quarterback is Trevor Lawrence. I don't have anybody from the Jags, right? He'd be nice with Evan Ingram or Christian Kirk, but I didn't have anybody that worked out. Did you guys, outside of Tua and Tyreek, did you stack anybody in your Raspberry on purpose or by accident?
Yeah, I did. I stacked Jordan Love and Romeo Dobbs.
Yeah, I like a stack like that because it's not expensive.
Yeah.
For me, I'll give an example. Scott Fishbowl. I drafted Jalen Hurts at 105, and when my 208 came up, AJ Brown was available. But in Scott Fishbowl, I like the prospect of Sam Laporta a little bit better than AJ Brown, so I passed on AJ Brown and took Sam Laporta.
Yeah,
can't argue with that.
Yeah, I actually inadvertently stacked Jahmyr Gibbs, Sam Laporta, and Jared Goff. I did not take quarterback early in Scott Fishbowl. It was my first, actually, I promise you're not going to believe it, but I promise you, my first ever Scott Fishbowl, but more importantly, my first ever Superflex league I've ever been in was Scott Fishbowl, or is Scott Fishbowl 14. So passing on Jared Goff to get guys like Tyreek, Jahmyr Gibbs, Alvin Kamara, Sam Laporta, etc. I was happy in doing that. Now, my second quarterback being Geno Smith, not exciting, but in the long run, I like the Goff, Jahmyr Gibbs, and Sam Laporta stack. And Amon-Ra was long gone by the time my third round pick came around. So, or excuse me, my third round.
Yeah, well, Amon-Ra was gone pretty early in our division.
Yeah. But that, I think, might be a fun stack. They play a lot of games indoors, do the Lions, and they like to throw the ball a lot. So I'll take it. All right, so Jamie's logged in here as he is every show. I stack, but I'd rather take value over stacking. I tend to agree. If the stack is there, like you said, Dave, I think because it's tight end premium, you take Laporta over AJ Brown, but in any normal situation, you would have happily taken AJ Brown to pair with her.
100%. But you've basically another thing to think of when you're thinking of stacking to contort yourself to do it is, what is the scoring system? Is there a benefit for me taking AJ Brown over Sam Laporta in a tight end premium league? I lean towards Laporta in that format.
Sure, and that's why we saw those tight ends, the McBrides and the Kelseys and Laportas and Kincaids and Andrews all went so early in that format.
Oh, yeah. You look at some of the Scott Fishbowl builds and you see guys taking tight ends in the second, third, and fourth round.
Yeah. Which without knowing the the scoring setup there, and you're just seeing some of those on Twitter, and you're seeing those builds. It's, especially the novices that are watching that aren't used to Scott Fishbowl, and they're seeing that, they're like, "What am I missing?" And and they're starting to panic and figure out why. And it can be very eye opening. If you like you say, one of the best, or one of the first rules of fantasy sports is knowing the scoring and setup rules for your league. And when you see such a unique situation like that, and you start seeing those builds, and if you're not aware of it, boy, that really can get your attention.
Yeah, and the guys at the Scott Fishbowl do a great job every year of altering the scoring and adding to the player pool. This year it was return yards added, and it was such a boost for return yards. You really kind of couldn't resist diving into the pool, right? So one of the guys I took in early on was Rashid Shaheed.
Yeah.
I think I got him in the 7th round.
Yeah, and then you look at his ADP, across, and people are like, why is his ADP so low? Well, it's affected by a group of drafters like that.
Yeah, I'm picking him up. I'm picking him up in the low teen rounds and in other drafts too, because I think he's going to actually have a good role on the New Orleans offense. Now, how good is the New Orleans offense? Well, I'm getting him in the teens rounds, so that it kind of goes hand in hand.
He went in the 12th round in my Raz Bowl.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, and the thing is, here's where we're comparing a super flex league with a one quarterback league.
Right.
I mean, one quarterback leagues, the vast player pool dries up a lot more quickly than it does in super flex.
That is true.
All right, gents. So our man of the hour is still not dialed in. I expect him to dial in soon. Let's pivot, if we will, Derek, to our current Belly Up Bowl draft board, and let's see kind of where we are through. What are we through? 11 rounds, 10 rounds, something like that.
Yeah, we're at the tail end of the 11th round.
Okay.
Oh.
And for those that are checking in, all three of us, to include Belly Up Mike, are in this league. And I think that he's got what, 5, Dave? 5 of these leagues I think he's setting up. I don't know how many of them are full. We'll have to wait for him to check in to let us know. But I know he does have additional leagues. Yeah,
the thing about Belly Up is they don't do a whole lot on Twitter anymore. So I don't see as much as I used to. You'd probably need to go to the Belly Up website.
Yeah. And I found out about Belly Up through Dave posting their kind of their logo, which is it shows the charity that we're all donating money to.
Yeah, which I got it here. Let me pull it up real quick. Okay. Show everybody.
Yeah, so the 5th annual Belly Up Bowl, they're partnering with Alex's Lemonade Stand, basically a foundation to find a cure or at least fight childhood cancer. So for me, it was a no-brainer. A couple of bucks donated to Alex's to get in another best ball draft. Now, what we found out as soon as the draft kicked off, it's no longer best ball. So we've got to work a little bit of overtime to put our lineups in every week, but my thought is no big deal. I'm pretty much living football from this point until football's over. So I'm not too concerned. I have another 1 or 2 leagues, 2 that I count that are in sleeper. So it's not that big a deal. You go in, you set your lineup, and you're done.
That's the good thing. They're on sleeper, and most of my leagues are on sleeper now.
Yeah. It's a nice format. I like the color coding. It's very user friendly. And the buttons for dummies like me are pretty big, so it doesn't take a lot of work to figure out where the buttons are for draft room or team or lineup or anything like that. So, and I thought I set your lineup for week 1 based on its projections for your player. So it's a super flex league. I had in Scott Fishbowl, I had my Geno Smith. I'm like, well, he's got to be my super flex, but it actually had Zach Moss estimated to have more points. So the system started Zach Moss for me. Now, clearly I can go in there and change that at any point if I want for leagues that you get to do that. But I thought that was interesting that it chose based on projected points. I thought that was kind of neat.
Yeah, I know, in my experience, and of course with super flexes, you tend to want to start that quarterback in the super flex, but in my experience, that's not always the best decision. I mean, there are times when, of course, it depends on who your quarterbacks are, but you notice in our draft here, I'll highlight my team here. I didn't take a second quarterback, and I still haven't yet taken a second quarterback. And what I did instead was I took 5 receivers, and I'm starting in 2 tight ends, all of which, in my mind, can play every week. So, depending on which quarterback I end up with, as my second quarterback, I might not start them in the super flex. I might start Ferguson or, one of the wide receivers in the super flex instead of the quarterback. And in my experience, many times that's just fine. There's no problem with that whatsoever.
Yeah, and I think you employed this strategy in a guillotine league last year, right? Your first year in the guillotine league. And I think that was your first entry into a superflex league as well. Is that right?
That guillotine league was a superflex, yeah.
Yep.
And there were about half the time, while I was building out my roster from those, being cut. But, in the early part of the season when the rosters were still thin, I played a quarterback only about half the time in the superflex. I used position players the other times, and, it worked out just fine.
So let's highlight that first, and then we'll go to Dave after you. But highlight your team, and I know you and I, right? We talk probably an unhealthy amount, probably too much. But Derek and I have been playing together and against each other for many years, and so I will tell you that his start, if nothing else, is different. We'll use that as a term. I would lose $1 every day because I would bet the $1 that there's no way Derek drafts Anthony Richardson at the sixth spot. I wouldn't seen it coming. Even in Superflex, I would have said, nope, not going to happen. But so Derek, explain to us, number one, you said going into this one, it's for charity. You wanted to have fun. You wanted to take a different approach and see how it worked out. You know me, I'm sitting over there on the left-hand side in the 1 spot. I don't want to be there either, but let's talk about how you decided on Richardson and how that then translated to where you went after that.
Yeah. So, even in super flexes, typically I'm going to pass on a quarterback in the first round and go after him in the second round. But I figured this would be a great opportunity to try something different for me, not necessarily different for how other people draft, but different for me, and go with a young quarterback who, I don't think he's going to come out of the gate like he did last year, running like he did. But if he does, that's great. But he's healthy. He's got some good core receivers around him. He will get ground yards, some scoring touchdowns. So I figured, what the heck? Let me give it a try and build a team around Richardson. And so if you look down to my 4th round pick, I obviously stacked him with Pittman and used, stacked him with his number 1 receiver. So, but, even before I got to that point, I decided that I was going to go with a 0 running back approach, or near 0 running back approach in this draft. It's a PPR format, so I wanted to load up on volume receivers. And I think that's the word I used when I told you I was looking for volume receivers. So AJ Brown fits that mold. Pittman fits that mold. Debo, Amari Cooper, and then even Keenan Allen in the 8th. All those 5 receivers fit the mold of high volume receivers. So I decided to build my team that way. Dave, you had mentioned Laporta. I absolutely just love the guy. It's not really my normal to take a tight end in the 3rd round. But again, I wanted high volume pass catchers. So I said, well, let me see what I can put together with a team, around AJ Brown and then Sam Laporta in the 3rd. And, I'm pretty happy with it so far. I was telling Matt before you came on, the one regret that I have, and it's not a regret that I took the player, but where I took him was Ferguson. Taking Ferguson in the 9th round. Let me highlight. And in retrospect, I probably could have taken him in the 10th round and got a better running back than Gus Edwards. So that's my only regret so far is taking Ferguson and Edwards in the 9-10 rather than I was actually looking at Singletary there, or Mostert would have been nice too, and then I could have most likely gotten Ferguson in the 10th, and I would have liked that a little bit better than where I'm at. But otherwise, I'm pretty happy with it. I'm kind of eager to see how this turns out. This build, and we talked about the fact that it's a super flex, and I don't have a quarterback or second quarterback yet. So I'm going into this thinking that I'm probably not going to come out of the gates with a quarterback in the super flex position. I'll be putting one of my skill position players there, but we'll see which quarterback I get, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, and what I found interesting, Derek, you and I talked about this before Dave popped on, is if you put your cursor up right next to, right around that Deebo Samuel pick, and then count to the right, because that's where the arrow was going. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So you started a run of 7 wide receivers that went. So your strategy, obviously you want to start runs and not be on the tail end of them. And then there's also down at the bottom where you said Ferguson. If you look at the Javonte Williams pick and wrap all the way around to the Brian Robinson,
right,
12 running backs went in 17 picks. Now, as Derek said, he's lamenting a little bit about the fact that he may be running back thin. But before we go into Dave's draft board and before we go into mine, if we have time, Derek, if you would, we have a lumberjack has checked in to the show. Mike, we're waiting for your camera to show you on the screen. I can see you down in the backstage area. He's in the green room right now, folks, so he's hanging out. Mike, give me a thumbs up if you can hear me.
He looks like he's frozen.
He's frozen. Yeah, let me see. Yep, I'm adding him to the stage there, and he's not showing up. He is frozen. Derek, if you would, I'm going to post something in the private chat. Do you want to pull up Dave's info or his draft real quick?
All right. So unlike most of us, Dave, you took wide receiver with your first pick and actually your first 3 picks. Talk to us about that strategy in a super flex.
Well, it started materializing as soon as the 3 quarterbacks I like best in the first round went right before me in this type of format. I really like the high volume rushing quarterbacks and Patrick Mahomes. Those are the 3 guys I like best. After that, I could go either way. And the fact that Tyreek Hill was there at number 5, that's a player I honestly believe that could lead all scorers in this format. If he stays healthy, and if Tua stays healthy, I mean, I don't think he had a great year last year, and I don't think he hit his ceiling. So Tyreek's a pretty easy choice in that spot for me. And, the first 3 picks, those 3 wide receivers are all a little bit of a leap of faith, right? Garrett Wilson has been targeted 315 times in 2 years with the Jets, with quarterbacks that I'm not even sure are better than even league average.
And that's an NFL record, Dave. That number it has never been done. That is an NFL record, and he had nobody of name value throwing him the football.
Right. So I don't know. I don't see another receiver on that team that can threaten that volume. I mean, as much as I like Mike Williams as a player, he's got to show me he can be healthy, and he's still not even the same type of player. Wilson is he's an amazing receiver and that can win at all levels on the field. And I think Aaron Rodgers is going to just love him.
Oh, say that again. Derek is going to look at the look on Derek's face when anybody says something positive or friendly or charming about Aaron Rodgers. Derek just loves the guy.
Yeah, well, he's got to make it through a series before I'm going to actually.
We really aren't calling Aaron Rodgers injury prone, are we?
No,
we're not playing that card. So
no, we're not.
I love Garrett Wilson. I put a tweet out that said simply that I drafted Garrett Wilson before AJ Brown. And that was like probably my most popular tweet of the summer. I had all the clever people coming out of the woodwork, dropping gifts on me, telling me I was wrong and blah, blah, blah. Needless to say, they're pretty much on everybody. They're pretty much like neck and neck on people's rankings. So yeah. I wasn't going out on a limb.
No.
Right?
So Dave, remind me when we get to the end of the show, if we've got a little bit of time, I'm going to bring up a home league question for you as it relates to those 2 names that you just brought up, AJ Brown and Garrett Wilson. But before we do that, I can see a nice gentleman, fantastic beard, sitting in the green room in the background. Mike, welcome to the show. It's good to see you. I'm going to tell you what, Matt, this first time we've met, right? Derek,
yes.
This is Mike. Dave, this is Mike. Matt, this is Mike. I will tell you this. I've got a long-time friend, 30 plus, probably 20 plus years through the Air Force. I've known him a very long time. He's from Tennessee. I'd say he would tell you he's got a little hick in him. I'm not going to claim that you do, but bear with me for a second. He has grown the same beard that you have. And for a while, it was starting to get a little salt and pepper, and he started to do the coloring, and we gave him a rash, a hail back and forth. But he goes by Elvis. He has not been able to shake the nickname. He's got that Tennessee drawl, big fella, really good dude, right? Family guy, softball guy, sports fanatic. So if I slip and say, hey, Elvis, I'm going to throw it over to you, don't take offense. That's why I'm doing
No
it.
problem.
It's almost like he's popped into the show. In fact, I'll probably FaceTime him afterwards. Hopefully he hasn't been knocking back Grandpa's cough medicine on a Thursday, but we'll see. So, Mike, welcome to the show. Let me give you a recap real quick. we have taken up some time. We talked about Raz Bowl, which I don't know if you're in it, but if not, we're going to get you in it for next year for sure.
Okay.
You'll get a personal invite from myself. I'm the commissioner. First
Awesome.
time this year for Raz Bowl 6. Then we talked about our drafts in Raz Bowl. We kind of killed some time. From there, we opened up the draft board to the current Belly Up Bowl that we're in. Derek went through his build a little bit, his process. We were at the tail end of Dave's. I haven't gone into mine yet. Not a big deal. I'm not ecstatic with my team. But what I want to do is we want to turn this thing over to you. If you would, tell us a little bit about Belly Up Bowl and tell us about this fantastic charity that we're all donating to. In fact, I love playing fantasy football. If I can give a little bit of my time and effort and money and promotion through Razzball, let's do it and tell us what
Absolutely.
you got going on.
Well, first and foremost, sorry for making you guys wait. It was unexpected. My kids, it's school's coming up, so we're trying to let them run around as much and burn off some steam. So they're running a little later in the night. And then I tried to connect with my normal system. I haven't had it on, and I was just sitting there spinning. So right now there may be some background noise. I don't have my actual setup right now. My son's kind of sitting over next to me watching his iPad. But long story short, appreciate you guys inviting me. Appreciate you guys being a part of what we're doing. Really, the Belly Up Bowl started 5 years ago. We started, actually, the first year was our biggest year. We first donated to St. Jude's. St. Jude's is a great, company to work with. I think the first year we donated about $1,200 to them. So in the first year, really, really hitting the ground, really, really recruiting, because basically, through social media and stuff like that, that's where a lot of people connect and network and stuff like that. And that's really what we did. It was just all cold calling or cold emailing, reaching out saying, hey, you want to be a part of this? Nobody knew what we were doing. Nobody knew what we were. We started off as best ball because I know a lot of people charity wise do best ball because they get in that, they like to donate the money and then kind of set it and forget it. So for the past 4 years, I should say, we've done best ball. Transition from the first year, to the second year, we decided to go with Alex's Lemonade Stand. We reached out to them. Nothing wrong with St. Jude's whatsoever, but Alex's Lemonade Stand is a little more interactive. They work with us a little more. They send us emails. They respond to our social media and stuff. So they help us hype it up. Also, another great cause, So for the past 4 years, we've been working with them. So here we are in our 5th year. We did make a slight tweak to it this year to try to change it up a little bit. We did get out of the best ball, so I know it kind of threw a few people for a loop that have been it for the past few years. So unfortunately, some people will have to pay attention a little more. But it's a $20 donation. So the way I see it is donate $20. If you lose, you lose. You're kind of a winner for being a part of it. But yeah, every year, once the end of the season comes and goes, we make our donation and we kind of build on it every year. It's nice. And I believe Crew, I think you've been in a couple years and you're the one that kind of recruited all these guys, right? To be a part of it.
Yeah. Somebody from you guys reached out to me in a DM on Twitter and asked me if I wanted to be back in it again. And I jumped on the chance. Yeah. I've been in at least 3.
I was just saying, I know you've been around.
I want to say maybe even 4.
Okay.
And it's last year was funny. I feel like I should apologize to you guys because I joined at the last minute. And so I think I bumped one of your guys out of the league I ended up in. And I tried to say, listen, just take the money. I'm fine just donating. You guys, I was in the wrong.
No, that's fine then. Yeah, actually, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say I was delighted to be back in it. I'm delighted to be back in it again this year. I just love playing for charity.
Yeah, absolutely. And I appreciate that. But yeah, basically, honestly, as we're doing this, my team is actually, we're here in Ohio. That's where we're out of. We're actually prepping to be at the Fantasy Football Expo. This will be our 3rd year at the Expo. So tomorrow, a lot of the guys will be there. I won't actually get in until Sunday for the big part of it. But we're kind of all over doing a lot of things. I had one of the other guys that set up the Belly Up Bowl. He was going to come on tonight with me. He was from Iowa, but he's been going through some storms and some different things, so they don't have internet. So long story short, you're stuck with me. But yeah, I mean, even as we're speaking right now, we're still taking donations. We're still opening leagues because, there is a little bit of time. until the beginning of the season, basically we have the 8-hour draft clock is essentially what we do. And if we get too close to the actual games, we'll speed that up. But, the more teams we get in, the better, the more that goes in the pot, for these kids and everything that we're doing. And, that's just a quick rundown of everything. But I really appreciate you guys inviting me on and letting me talk about it and kind of get the word out there, because I looked into your guys, is what you guys are doing, so I'm looking forward to being a part of that next year. So.
Yeah. So, Mike, what's the goal? Do you have a goal for this year, or you say anything above $1 is awesome?
Yeah, I mean, really, we set a goal on the Alex's Lemonade page. There's an actual page, so it's all legit. Sometimes you get in these charity leagues and it's not necessarily a big name company, and people kind of worry, but it's all legit. You can go right to the page and donate. There's a goal for $1,000. Whether we hit that or not, we're gonna obviously donate the money. We usually come pretty close to our goal or go over. I think we're right around $500 on the donation side. And then we do have a team stake account too that we give the option of people that come in to play to pay whether they want to do the donation directly to Alex's Lemonade or do the team stake, and then we donate it at the end. So goal is $1,000, but either way, it doesn't matter. We hit it. I mean, it'd be nice if we hit it and exceed that, but we donate whatever we have by the end of it.
So essentially, you need 50 teams. So you need 6 divisions of 12 or 6 leagues of 12, right?
Yeah. So the way it is. Yeah, so the way it is set up, it is a little different. It's not, I will be very transparent. It's not 100% donation. Basically what we do is it's a 50-50. So 50% of all money goes to the Alex's Lemonade stand no matter what. And then we break up first and second place 70-30 of the rest of that 50%. So there is a little kickback, but it's really only the first and second place, but everything else. And then a lot of times, depending on how we are, basically with the company, we may match the donation as well. So
nice. Good to hear.
Cool.
So
yeah, I've got the logo up here. So while we talk, I'm going to put that up just to show everybody, what you've got, and you can find this on Twitter. You've got a Twitter page.
Yep.
You've got your website, which I've got scrolling down at the bottom. But yeah, great cause, great tournament. It's been a fun draft so far, and we're happy to talk to you tonight about it.
Yeah, it's cool. I mean, obviously I haven't met you guys personally, but there's so many people that year after year that get in it and they're excited about it. And it's cool just to be able to do that, because obviously we got the Fish Bowl, we got a lot of really big charity events are really big, and we're just a microcosm of all that and part of the community. So we're just trying to do, like I said, even if it's $1,000, it goes a long ways, because
this was really timely, Mike, because we just got done with the Fish Bowl. We were getting started with West Bowl, and I was, Matt and I were talking. It's like, we need to find another league that we can draft in that are, collaborators, that are, part of the industry. They're in for a good cause. Let's just be part of that again. And, Dave got us linked up to yours, and, it's been a great experience so far. We're really happy to be part of it.
Appreciate it.
I'll give you guys a hint. Next year, if you still want to do that, you probably should get an earlier start, because a lot of these leagues kick off starting in like May and June.
Yep.
Even if they're not doing drafts until July.
Yeah.
So
this year we're definitely behind the 8 ball.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm glad you guys reached out to me. I'm always happy to contribute to a good cause and have fun playing fantasy football.
Now, Mike, let me ask you this. For those of us that are a little bit more involved and want to play probably more than our spouses or kids or friends or job would want us to play, are you open to allowing individuals to be in more than one of those divisions? Is it done? So you're cool. So if you get to the point where you're like, hey, we're about to fill up this 8th division, I need 3 more. You don't mind if the 3 of us say we're in and fill it and move on?
Yeah, absolutely. We've got a few people that do that, just because, and a lot of people will just like you, Dave, you said, hey, even if you take my $20 and I don't play, it's for a good cause. A lot of people are just like, hey, we're just going to give you the $20. I said, we appreciate that. I mean, we're going to obviously continue to try to get donations even for people that aren't playing throughout the season. But we want people to participate, have a good, because it's an opportunity to really collaborate with other people.
Right. And even during the season, I go into to at least a few of the charities and make donations.
Yeah.
And I put on behalf of like say for Alex's Lemonade, I'll say this
Yeah.
is on behalf of Belly Up Sports.
I appreciate that.
Nice.
No, I appreciate the work that goes into organizing these things.
Yeah,
Yeah,
well,
that
I'll
is-
tell you what. So, as the first year commissioner for Rasbowl, Derek's got the logo T-shirt on. Derek, show him that. This is a
Yeah,
wonderful
very
logo.
nice.
We had Cool Whip provide to us. I will tell you this: it's people don't understand until they actually are put into the seat. And Derek's been a big help, and Bobby and the other folks at Rasbowl. So my hat is off to you in putting this thing together. Rasbowl 6 is the biggest collaboration we've ever had. It's the most people. So we're more than happy to kind of put some of that weight, not that it's a lot, but it's enough behind what you're doing, and see if we can't get you to set a record this year or next year collaborating
Well,
together.
we appreciate it because, it is a great cause, but I'd be lying to say if it's not taxing sometimes to get all the invites out, get everything set up, and most people understand it's for a good cause, but every once in a while you get people that kind of can get aggravated. So
yeah. Well, and you run it on Sleeper, Matt and Derek run their league on NFFC, and I think that's an eye opener to some people that joined.
Yep.
I don't have a problem using the site, but it's not the easiest to navigate. So I'm sure there's been a lot of complaining.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you take the good with the bad. It's all for a good cause.
All right, Derek, let's see. Let's take a couple more minutes. Let's throw the draft board back up there. And Mike, let's take your 2 cents on how this thing played out. Now, I know you probably were nervous, right? A little bit of trepidation knowing that you were going to have to deal with me for 18 rounds. And frankly, I'm a professional. So going in, you knew that this was going to be an issue for you. So, I mean, I'm not going to ask you to pat me on the back for how good my draft is going. Tell us how second place feels after drafting out of the second spot.
Yeah, so strategy, obviously, with being a super flex, obviously PPR league, obviously those quarterbacks come in high commodity. So I knew that was going to be. So I was kind of torn. Last year we did obviously we did best ball, so it was a little different. I didn't really have to focus a whole lot on that, but I just I feel like there's one more year of Christian McCaffrey, and to kind of pair him with Barkley coming back. And then I don't know if you guys were paying attention, I had the opportunity to get Purdy. And by the time I came back through Purdy again, I had, Debo was sitting there, and I was like, God, that would be sweet, but that's just too much stake in San Francisco. So I'm a Lions fan, and Goff quietly put a great fantasy season. I mean, a great season in general, but a great fantasy season together last year, hoping to build off that. And then, I'm not thrilled with 3 and 4 where I got them. I like my running backs, but I don't know. It'll be interesting to see because my DJ Moore, I think there's a lot of opportunity. So finishing a second, that would probably be okay with this team at this point, but I'm not sure I'm going to be up there. So right now,
yeah. So a self-admitted Lions fan, and you've got 2 Bears on the roster.
I know. So realistically, with what obviously Fields isn't going to be there, but I'm not a slappy. I'm not a homer. We did a great thing last year with Detroit. I can continue to think that they're going to build on that, but Detroit's defense gives up some yards and gives up some points. So,
now, speaking of being a homer, I'm a Packers fan, and I will let you know. So Derek busts my chops constantly. Over 4 leagues. Right now, I only have 2 Green Bay Packers players. I have 1 share of Reed, and I have 1 share of Josh Jacobs. And if you were inside our war room, you would hear our arguments about how many Green Bay players I'm able to draft and how much hell I catch from Derek each time.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
It's not fun. But no, if you finish second, I'm certainly not finishing first. I'm not ecstatic about being in the 1, right? It was kind of cool. You're like, oh, give me Josh Allen. And then you wait and you wait.
Yeah.
And you wait. And it really, I sent Derek a text. I said, this is awful, right? The 2-3 turn to me.
You can't get in a groove.
Not because it was super flex, right? I could have taken Purdy if I wanted to. I could have taken Goff. I could have, right? But I'm like, I don't think those guys are worthy of that pick. I mean, Purdy probably was the name. But I'm like, if I'm going to have fun with this, let me take the kind of the older guard stud running back who's really not as old as you think, and Taylor.
Yeah.
and Achane, and then I waited and waited and waited. But Dave's heard this. I don't know how many times Dave's heard this now. I hate running backs, right? I'm a wide receiver guy and have forever. And I'm looking at my draft boards behind. I've got it behind the laptop here. I don't have running or receivers in any one of my leagues because where I was drafting, they just were never the names I wanted weren't there. And if you look at my draft board, right, Ayuk and Waddle, great for my 1 and 2, but I mean, look at when it came to me, I'm struggling to get wide receiver each time. And I think sometimes Superflex folks can get wrapped around that quarterback axle, but I watched our league kind of play out and it didn't. People weren't grabbing a second quarterback immediately. We had a couple, right? Lamar and Dak go 1-2 to the fourth pick. But outside of that, right, look at how the purple is spread out. People didn't jump on that second quarterback, which in the long run, it stings people that are prepared to take wide receiver over the quarterback because I said to Derek and I said to Dave, this draft of the 4 I've been in, I've got 2 home leagues coming up, plus whatever else we can jump into. This has been the most unpredictable and probably challenging draft I've been in, which makes no sense because Superflex should be robotic. It should be 2 quarterbacks and you should move on. But it's been something. I like the talk back and forth, right? There's been a lot of folks joking about we got one guy that's deployed overseas and he's asleep half of the draft each day and we feel bad for him. But I mean, he gets up and he makes his pick. I'm like, well, where the hell did that come from? That didn't make any sense. But when you look at his build, it makes sense. So I like my team. I don't love it. I will tell you this, there's only one team on this board that only has 1 quarterback, and I think there's 2 that have 3. So raise your hand if you're the team that only has 1 quarterback. Yep, there he is. So if you look at Derek's, he took Anthony Richardson at 6 overall. He doesn't have another quarterback. And so
thanks for pointing that out, man.
Well, some of the guys in the league said they were going to tune in and listen for specific names on who they should not take, and I'm trying not to name drop anybody. So I've got a lot of holes to fill on my own roster, and I don't want these guys swiping them from me either. So I'm trying to be not only vanilla, but also agnostic. I'm supposed to be spreading the love on this show, but I don't love my team. And there's a couple others I look at, Dave, here. Yours is my dream start for a guy that loves wide receiver, right? It's just, I love the way you started your draft.
Yeah, well, come talk to me week 6 when I don't have any receivers.
Well, you lose 1 week, you win the rest, right? Who cares? All right, Mike. So what do you think? You think you're gonna fill 5, 6, 7, 8 of these things, or you think maybe you got a late start and you're gonna need some help from us?
Yeah. I mean, obviously, any help. Last year, I think we ended up with 4 or 5. The first year, I think we had 10 leagues. That was 5 years ago. It's slowly dwindled because a lot of people are doing this now. And with the late start, we usually pick up a few this weekend at the Fantasy Expo. We usually fill in our league, so probably 4 or 5 is where we'll be capped. We'd love to be more, but if you guys got people, we'd love it. Usually at the expo, we usually give away, like I'll do 2 donations and I'll give away 2 spots for people to sign up for. It is a donation league, but just to get people in to experience it, it usually gets people to come back the next year, because I feel like even with, setting it all up, they pretty much run themselves once they get going. But once you get people in, like you guys said, it's a good community. It's a good, chat and kind of giving each other a hard time. And it just, builds kind of a culture of people wanting to come back and enjoy it.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. So, Dave, I told you to remind me of something, but I've remembered. So, Mike, this one could probably fit for you too, is because you don't just play belly up. So Dave, Derek and I split a couple of home league teams, and we've done it for many, many, many years. And we proposed KDS to those leagues. Are you familiar with KDS from Rasbol? Mike, do you know what KDS is?
No, I don't.
So it's the Kentucky, what is it called, Derek? Kentucky Derby system of drafting. So prior to the draft, you list in order what draft position would be your ideal. So if you want to draft 1, you list number 1 first. If you want to draft 12 is your second choice, you put 12. But you list them in order, and the system then randomizes the pick. So if you put 101 as your first and your name comes up first, you get your first pick. If I was second and I had number 1, well, I can't get number 1, but my second pick was number 12, then I get number 12. And then it goes through the ranks like that. So we proposed this in 2 of our leagues. One of them, our buddy Chad, he randomizes everything, and 1 through 12 comes out. Right now, what he does is an email campaign that says, hey, Joey, you're at number 1. Do you want to stay or do you want to move? I kid you not. We were picked 10th, so we got the 10th pick. And it went, Derek, how many? The first 10?
9. Well, the first 9.
9 all stayed. Not one person understood that their draft strategy could, or maybe they did. I don't know. Maybe we're the dummies. I don't know. So 1 through 9 stayed. It comes to us, and I said, well, I'm going to do something. We're just going to move. We moved to the end. Now I'm drafting 1 in yours, and I absolutely hate it. So my question to you 2 guys is, let's see if we can agree on a top 9. Dave, we did this a couple weeks ago. So in no certain order, right? And non-superflex, non-tight end premium. CeeDee Lamb, Tyreek, Amon-Ra, Jefferson, Chase, Bijan, Brees, CMC. There's your top 8, right? Pretty much consensus. Dave, who would you say was number 9? We talked about this, A.J. Brown.
Yeah.
Be your 9. So who is your 10 and 11? Meaning the ultimate question is, who the hell are Derek and I going to have to?
Yeah, 12, 13. Yeah.
At 12, 13. So who can you guys agree on a 10 and 11, or are we going to have to just wait for our draft?
I'm probably looking at that spot at running backs, maybe a Jonathan Taylor or Saquon Barkley, somebody like that. Or, depending on how friendly it is to tight ends, maybe even a Laporta.
It's not. It's a regular 1 point
okay,
PPR.
Well, then tight ends don't even matter.
Yep.
And I'm certainly not looking at a quarterback at that spot in a 1 quarterback league.
Let's talk about the next 4 names, because we're going to get 2 of the 4. I think Taylor, Saquon, Garrett Wilson.
Yeah.
And what's the wild card? Is it Jahmyr Gibbs? Is it another receiver? It's not Puka right now with his knee injury.
No.
But Puka was trending at number 7 or 8 for a long time.
Yeah, I think Gibbs probably belongs in the conversation. Right off the top of my head, I can't think of a 4th guy. I'd have to look at what's out there. I just don't have that memorized.
Derek, throw that up there. Let him see. And Mike, what do you think? Who are your 4 after those top 9 are obvious?
I'm on the I'm on the running backs at that point.
I just saw my guy, Jamar Chase.
No, Chase is in the top 9.
Okay, you got him already in the top 9. Oh, did you? How about Jefferson?
Yep, he's in the top 9.
He'll go in the top 9.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think at that point I think
and then there's one other wrinkle here, because in this league we start 1 running back, 2 receivers, and then 2 flex.
Yep.
Okay.
So do we double tap running backs, or do we reach for a running back wide receiver combo that may not ideally fit at the 12-13 turn?
I think it's tough to reach that right there. You're going to get 2 value picks, and I wouldn't say value, but at least, it's not a PPR league. Is that what you said? Or it's not a flex?
Full point.
It's PPR.
Yeah, okay. So
my other pick is. Sorry, go ahead.
No, you're fine. I was just saying you're talking two guys. Obviously, Saquon with the Eagles. My only concern with him being there is he's probably going to lose a couple goal line carries, touchdowns because of the whole the tush push. But like you said, Taylor is not old by any means. He's had a few injuries dinged up, and then you got Gibbs in that mix too. So they're going to get him in the mix a lot more in Detroit. So I think you really can't go wrong with those 3 picks. But I think the wide receivers drop off. I'm not counting out Cooper Kupp this year, but he's got to stay healthy too.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of Chris Olave. Maybe Devontae Williams. A guy I like that probably is going to be less popular is Kyron Williams. Talking about guys that if they stay healthy, I think are going to blow up. I loved Kyron Williams last year. He won me some championships.
Yeah, but he won you championships either off the waiver wire or your 17th round pick, right?
Well, that doesn't mean I don't think he's a first or second rounder this year.
Yeah,
It's,
I just, for whatever reason, I know Bob loves him, right, Derek? Bob loves him.
Yeah.
And I've been up for 3 nights trying to figure out what the heck's going to happen. And if we were to stay at 10, we would have needed one mistake to get AJ Brown, right? One mistake to get Jamar Chase or Jeff.
Sure.
I think the mistake would be Taylor or Saquon or Gibbs would be, or Wilson. One of those 4 would come in. So
possibly Derrick Henry may enter the conversation. I just don't like the receivers at that spot. I'm not a big fan of Olave.
That's where I am.
And as much as I like Drake London this year, I think that's just too early.
Yeah, you're validating what we kind of came to the conclusion yesterday was that we're probably looking at running back there.
We came to the realization that if the 12 got to us and Saquon and Taylor were there, Jonathan Taylor, that we would smash both, and then we would take the Cooper Kupp and Ayuk at 3-4, something like that.
Yeah,
and I think I could live with that. But for 2 guys that are self-admitted wide receiver lovers, this is a very, I want to throw up every time I talk about it. It just
I find it easier to go wide receiver when I'm in the middle of the board.
Yes.
Yeah. If I'm on one of the ends, it's real hard for me not to take a running back.
Yeah. That's a good point.
And I don't think, again, we only start one. You're only forced to start one running back. So he used to call it the run and shoot. Remember, like Houston had Lorenzo White and the 14 receivers. Frank Wycheck might have been a tight end for them. This is a very uncomfortable situation for us. I don't know how we're going to handle it. Good for Derek is the night of the draft. He said, I've got an appointment 30 minutes after it starts. So he'll be there for the first 2 picks, and then he will.
Which means we're going to have a team full of Packers.
Yeah, he'll be the Homer Simpson meme or GIF where he just goes into the hedge and disappears. So, but I will tell you this. So last year we had a decent team. We built our tiers. I handed him the tiers, and I went to see Pearl Jam in Chicago. And before you knew it, he's texting back and forth, and the entire draft blew up. And by our second pick, everything was out the window, and it was brutal. So,
and that's the fun. That's the fun of this, right?
Yeah. Well, that's the fun of home leagues too, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I told him, I said, I'm tired of not winning these leagues. We're better. We're smarter. We've got more info. We're more dialed in. And
we
always finish 4th. So I don't get it.
You're screwed. I don't know the last time I won any of my home.
Oh, I haven't won in so long. But I can tell people that I write for Razzball and we get to do podcasts, and they just roll their eyes and say they don't. I don't care. Whatever. Yeah. They don't even tune in. My friends don't even tune in, which is crazy.
I one of the home leagues about 5 years ago, somebody drafted Tom Brady and Ben Roethlisberger in the first 2 rounds, and it was 1 quarterback league. So
I'd love to be in that league. So
well, you think you would?
Yeah. Somehow you didn't win. You didn't win that league either.
Yeah. No.
Those leagues are hard to draft in. When people do that, and you're not prepared for it, it just throws, like you said, throw everything out the window.
Yeah, sometimes those leagues there are harder than the ones when you're playing against all the industry guys, because they're somewhat predictable, where they're going, and then you get someone who doesn't know and takes a defense in round 14 is what the heck's going on here?
Yeah. So. But the good thing is we've built our tiers. We're adjusting them, and I don't know, Mike, if you know this, I know you said you're really busy, but out there at Razzball we have a ton of free tools. We've got slot versus wide. We've got home versus away splits, which is a brand new one this year. So if you feel up to it, go ahead and give us some clicks out there. Like I said, probably 98% of what we do is in front of the paywall. You don't have to pay to get to anything. Nice. But and we also do a Sunday start sit show here on YouTube, and you can come in. You can drop your questions over there. You see the questions on StreamYard on the right hand side. Sometimes we start 3 hours before kickoff, and then as the season kind of moves on, we go 2 hours before kickoff, but we stop 5 to 10 minutes before so we can set all of our lineups. But we'd love to have you check in with us one Sunday and answer questions for the viewers. And Dave, you're going to be welcome as well. So I know if you're West Coast, you're not a West Coast. Dave, you are. You may not want to be up that early with us. So but we try to do it 2 to 3 hours before. We get a lot of good folks come and ask questions. It's a really good time. So
Yeah,
bottom line is,
the
go
7
ahead,
a.m.
Dave.
start sit shows are a little bit early, but
Yeah.
you know, when the games start at 8:30 at night on the East Coast for you guys, I feel a little bit better when I'm just
And I will tell you,
sitting
if you tune in if for no other reason to see how tired Bobby is, since San Diego, he has to sign in early and run most of the show. So, but gentlemen, I appreciate your time. Mike, I know you're busy. Dave, it's always good to see you. I'm shocked that Robert didn't find a way to weasel his way into this podcast. As a former Razzball champ, he wears it as a badge of honor. We appreciate that. Like I said, Mike, we'll get you in next year to Razzball for sure.
Absolutely.
It's a good way for us to cross-pollinate, help out your belly up bowls as well.
Yeah, and tell everyone one more time how you get to your site, and I'll put it back up here for you.
Yep, right there on the bottom, bellyupfantasysports.com. You go right to that website. Obviously, the Belly Up Bowl is one of the main lines on there. We do the same thing, start, sit. I mean, we're pretty much fantasy across the board. You got some baseball articles, betting, all that kind of stuff. There is a message board that I guess more of a forum. One thing that we want to do this year, like with you guys, you know, we want to get you on some of our shows. I know you guys will be having shows, but we usually do like Tuesdays or Wednesday nights. Outside of Sundays, but the forum as well, you know, get people on there. We want other companies to come. We're totally open for them to post their content on there. Just kind of like you said, a cross pollinating of just getting information out there.
Yeah, it's all about supporting each other.
Absolutely.
Right. Yeah, collaboration.
Yeah. And I tell you, the reason, I don't know how we found Dave or how Dave found us, but when you're just a normal person that kind of does some articles time to time and podcasts, you know how much work that it takes to do that. But when you start connecting with people that are really good in the industry and they're favorable and they're welcoming, you know, Dave is not affiliated with any site, right? Dave is just Dave.
Nobody ever knows how they find Dave.
Yeah,
and you know, just turn over a rock in your garden or something,
and there he is.
Be there.
But I found Dave through the folks that do women fantasy football, right? That's how I kind of ended up in connecting with Dave. You're talking about a guy that's no fantasy site affiliation and has almost 6,000 followers. I mean, that's incredible. And that's when I reached out to somebody. I said, "Hey, is this guy just spamming everybody?" And one of the ladies said, "Nope. What he is he's a good dude, and he will promote your stuff, and he will be there when he says he's going to be there, and he will help you out." So, Dave, again, tip of the cap to you. Thank you very much. Mike, same to you. Best of luck. Keep us in your thoughts. Shoot me an email or Derek an email from time to time, and we will do what we can to help you out.
Absolutely.
Derek, as always, I'm sick and tired of listening to you and seeing you, but we will chat again tomorrow.
Likewise.
So if you will, yes, likewise. Thank you. If you will run us out of here, gents, thanks again.
Yeah, thanks. This was a lot of fun, and thanks for putting this together, Mike. This has really been a fun draft, and really
thank you for having me.
All right, enjoy the
guys.
expo. All right.